Welcome to the Tesla Beat podcast number 77. So we are officially live. We got a little bit of a late start. Welcome, Joe and Brian. How are you doing?
I'm awake.
I'm doing fine. I do not have the post-Thanksgiving crazies because I didn't have a Thanksgiving yesterday. No, mine is today. I'm having a Friendsgiving. So if you're one of my friends and you're in the Northwest, let me know. Maybe I'll see it too.
Hold my beer. I'm going to fly up right now. Well, awesome. As we know, never a dull week in the Tesla world. I mean, these guys are just dropping a bunch of dimes for us this past week. And quick shout out to Joe for putting the deck together. We always appreciate that. And of course, Grok making the FUD fighters holding up the world as we do, jokingly. Another great image. All right, well, let's just jump into it. $340 this past week or today ending as far as the stock. It's a little bit down from 353, but I still look at the fact that we are 37% up year to date, given we had been down 40%. So huge swing, but very, very exciting stuff. Well, Joe, I'm going to pass this one to you. This is your favorite topic.
This is my favorite. This is my favorite topic. So, I mean, what we see here is the tax incentive will survive in California, thanks to Gavin Newsom. And the asterisk is there because there's some amendments that might happen, but it doesn't really matter because it's not enacted yet. So we'll see what happens. So
My take on it is that I made a video about it that got a little bit of love and a whole lot of hate. But this, what was pointed out is that a lot of people are saying that, a lot of economists are saying that the IRA is unlikely to be repealed quickly or maybe not even at all. So this would be a moot point.
Right. It's going to take an act of Congress. So it's like
it would take an act of Congress. And for this and for Newsom to create a substitute incentive would require a funding mechanism, which is not yet in place. So it would require an act of the state legislature to enact. It would be a huge deal. I mean, that's a vast ocean of money you're talking about,
right,
at $7,500 per car. So I think it's a little premature to get our knickers too twisted about it, but we'll see.
Yep. Agreed.
The question is, though, I mean, obviously, as we know, Elon spoke about it a little bit this week too. I mean, one of the kickers, and again, TBD on some of this stuff, but there's a lot of obviously headliners that Tesla will be excluded from that. What is your thoughts on that? How did you react? Obviously, that was a big topic this week.
Well, just like you said, it would take so much legislature to even enact what even Newsom wants to do. That it seems like one of those things that he probably said, but there's so much involved in it actually happening that it's like, I don't know if it'll even actually happen that way. Plus, like, who in the government of California is gonna like really get behind the only battery EV maker in the state, like manufacturing EVs in the state? Like, what?
And Tesla doesn't really need the incentives the way the other companies do. They would prosper either way. But I imagine I just don't see this coming to actually pass. I get it. We're all, at war and we need to, win. But I think cooperation is always the better approach, and you can get a lot more. You catch more flies with honey. But we've got a lot of vinegar out there, and I think it'd be nice to tone it down a little bit.
Yeah, no, I think so. Obviously, I think you guys are shedding some more information to me as far as like potentially not happening. So I think that that's great because personally, I personally with Tesla, at the forefront of my mind on this conversation, like I don't really care if it happens or not. But if it does happen, it should be for everybody. It should not exclude any one company, because this goes back to. I mean, this could go down as if we don't know. It sounds like, based on what you guys are saying, it is probably like there's a 90% chance, 99% chance, it's probably not going to happen. The thing is that if this does happen, and let's say it does become a reality, it probably won't. But this is going to be probably, to be honest, I could see potentially Tesla starting to move a decent more out of California. I don't think engineering is going to leave, but this would be a little bit ridiculous, especially when you think of there's 47,000 employees in California. They published this number back in January of 2023. They're the only car manufacturer in California that's actually producing cars. And they're doing it on the most expensive place in the planet you could think to build a car. And, so I hope this doesn't happen, especially as a Californian, pretty much every year of my life, except for 1 year.
Yeah.
It does make me really sad to see the state being in this situation. I saw during COVID, we saw the mass exoduses of people and companies that left. And, the last thing we need is, to continue to drive more and more businesses out of California. And so for me, it was kind of, you may have beef with the top dog, you may have beef with the CEO, but that should not impact the tens of thousands of workers that are in California. So that was my only issue, is that, especially based on what they're doing. And I don't know what's going on there. Obviously, we know that Newsom and Elon have had a lot of conflict. It was interesting. I thought Newsom was kind of lightening up a little bit, especially once the whole SpaceX conflict came with the CCC, where they weren't going to allow a certain amount of launches. And he's like, hey, I'm not going to even back that. That's not cool. But if this is going to happen, if he's going to push this down, this is going to, in my opinion, just be bad news. I think for even other companies too, just because you're seeing it more and more. So that's just my opinion. I hope this doesn't happen. But that was my big takeaway. Elon, he did repost something and it got 40 million views of mine that just said, even though Tesla is the only manufacturer in California. So if this does go down, this will be not a good thing for California, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, you're looking at, the tax incentives alone that Tesla is providing the state with over 20,000 employees, and and it doesn't seem realistic what Newsom said. It seems like he's just like in his feelings about the election probably, and you can't speak about things like that emotionally. You're speaking for the entire state as the governor. And this is not something the entire state would obviously want, is for Tesla to be out of the state. There's a lot of employees, and that money, those employees are making money. They're spending money in the state. It's just a lot. It's not a fully thought out thing to say.
They're voting.
Right. Those are all voters too.
Yeah, they've got it's tricky. So if you want to hear some logistic ideas on how moving a factory would work, the short answer is, well, they'd have to build a $5 to $6 billion factory somewhere else. They'd have to train all new people, and that is one way you could do it. But there is already a bit of land available in Austin and quite a bit of talent. And what all they'd need to do is move the Model 3 line to Texas, or create a new Model 3 line, and then the factory starts not making as much sense to have in California, because the only thing they'd really be building there that they're not building anywhere else is S and X, and they would those models would probably just go away because I don't think it would make financial sense to reconstruct those lines somewhere else. So it's not impossible. It would just be uncomfortable and expensive. And I think there's a peaceful solution that can be found that would mitigate the necessity for doing anything rash in the first place.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing that, because even that, I think, what do you think potentially even Nevada, right?
I don't know if there's enough talent.
Yeah, they've already had problems. The whole thing with Giga Nevada is that the talent pool is so minimal, which is why it's been slow growing as it is right now. You just don't have people that live out that way. And anybody who's ever been to that factory will tell you it's like literally in the middle of nowhere. It's not even close to like anything. Like even the Austin factory is like way on the outskirts of town, and that land used to be kind of marshy, but still it's in town. There's houses outskirts. You know what I mean? The fact Giga Nevada is like you come over a mountain and like yeah, it's like in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, Reno itself is quiet enough, but this isn't even in Reno. It's in Sparks, but it isn't even in Sparks. So it is out there a bit.
Yeah, it's out there.
All right, so Tesla released this new image, a new sexier lineup. So we have obviously the new additions that we all know were released on 10/10. Were obviously the Cybercab and the Robotaxi. On the left, I'm saying it wrong, I know. Leave it to Brian to cringe. And then on the top right, we obviously see the Optimus. So, I think, some of the stuff, I think like the Cybercab and the Optimus, those things, like I said, I think the Optimus could potentially be the biggest product ever launched, depending on when they launch it and when it happens. The Cybercab is going to be insane. And same thing with the Robotaxi as well. But yeah, this was an interesting thing that they put out. What did you guys think about this when you saw it?
I feel like there's something missing there. We get to see the cars that aren't being built yet, but no Roadster. And
Right.
I mean, a real missed opportunity is they should have had a mega pack in there with Optimus riding it like the bomb at the end of Doctor Strangelove.
I think the image is great, but yeah, the missed opportunity to put in even the Roadster. I mean, that just goes to show you where the headspace is for Tesla right now. They are on manufacturing, and they are on manufacturing on a great scale. And if S and X are any indication, like, yeah, I probably know like 3 people that are gonna get a freaking free Roadster, and probably like a handful of others that even put down to buy one. So it's not like these are going to be great numbers. I mean, you can look at what the Rimac Nevera is only like, were they making like 150 or something like that? Like, so I mean, we know Tesla does mass scale, but I don't think they would really be selling a lot of those. But it just goes to show you they don't really. It's so back of the mind for them that they didn't even put it in the future products. 2 future products, well, 3 if you count the robot, but they didn't even put that in there. That's wild.
Little discouraging, but like John was saying, there's the fact that so many have been given away, so many have already been paid for in full. They will make money on it because it doesn't cost $250,000 to make the car. It probably costs, the only reason it would cost more than an S or X is because the volume is limited, but they would still have a tremendous margin on this vehicle. I think what's more likely is that we're seeing scope creep come into play, where Elon and the engineers keep saying, we could do this one extra thing. Good, let's do it. And then it becomes a pursuit of perfection that makes the goal unobtainable.
Yeah. All right. So the other big thing that we saw, well, hopefully they bring the Roadster. I mean, I think that thing needs to live, especially if it's going to fly a little bit. The great thing is, I mean, I think he's given some other updates, but I think the last one that comes to top of mind is the takeover. He says, get ready. It's going to fly a little bit if you haven't seen a flying car. So it's kind of scale-wise, it doesn't make sense as far as the mission per se. It's just a very fun car that they can potentially make, but they need to make it at some point. It's just a matter of when. All right. So one of the things that they dropped literally yesterday, which was pretty crazy, was this video of the Optimus catching a tennis ball. And so let me show you the video, and then we'll talk about a little bit about the screenshot that I'm showing on the bottom right.
Perfectly ridiculous. It is quite a challenge to master 3D space with time. And that is the thing is we keep seeing people saying, oh, Tesla bot is so far behind the competition. Until demos are shown, we don't know where anyone is at.
Right.
And if you show a demo today that is what you're doing today, we don't know how that compares to anyone else. And the idea that Tesla would somehow be significantly behind is crazy. And the idea that they're not in many ways leading is equally crazy. And, you know, hands are really difficult. That's why Boston Dynamics didn't even think about them until long after Tesla had tackled the problem.
Yeah, even a future one, I don't think really has hands, right? Like it's like,
and dexterity is critical to humanoid behavior. That's what we do. I look forward to the day when we see the same demo, but with Optimus catching an egg, an uncooked egg, because that would be a next step up, and I think it could absolutely do it. And the picture you were showing was kind of fun because you could, if you look in the background, there's an Easter egg.
Yeah.
There's a little tiny Optimus there because when you've got hands that good, you got to play with, you know, yourself. I guess. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, very cool. So I would love to see, we will get a robot demo. Elon has hinted at it. You know, he's dying to show us what's coming next. And
right.
even looking at this, the hips look different. The knees look considered. This is a newer generation. And this is gonna, I don't know, man. I'm just excited.
Yeah, no, it's gonna change the game for sure.
Well, you saw what you know, we all saw what Kim Kardashian got as well, right? And the access she got. And I think who knows what type of demos or access that they're going to be giving people down the road. It just came out. I don't have the exact slide in front of me. Is this it? Let's see. Is this it? Oh yeah. So we all knew this. I think we actually all commented on this past week, but we all commented that Kim Kardashian denies Tesla paid her to pose for the $30,000 robot and polarizing photo shoot. So we all know that to be the case, you know, because they would not pay millions of dollars for a photo shoot. But, you know, she's been very outspoken about her love for the Cybertruck and all of the stuff she's done for it. And so it was interesting that she, you know, came out about it, and that just sets the record straight that, you know, and I don't know if she's ever even done that for other products. She probably has, but I don't follow her. So I don't know, you know, if every post that she's doing, if it's all paid or if she does stuff like this on a normal basis.
Yeah, so I don't think she does.
Yeah. That's the thing with influencers, though, is they do get paid sometimes, but most of the time they're doing the influencing organically. That's how they build their brand. And if you're Kim Kardashian or anyone trying to grow your profile, you want to be with a product or place or service that can go viral. And she knew if I can get in, if I can do this, it's going to go viral. And it did. So, I mean, how much did Tesla charge her? They didn't. But when you look at it the other way, all these high profile people driving, you know, Shaq, how much did Tesla pay him? No.
To buy three.
Shaq paid Tesla to do the influencing. And that's what happens when you have the viral product. You can get that kind of coverage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. All right. So, Joe, I'm going to pass this to you.
So me and K10 have been commenting on this. This robot looks a little different than Optimus to us. So that's what, and then there's a comment that Elon made that it's going to be like C3PO and R2D2 he posted. So it's just like, there's something there. So I don't know. Looking at this, the shoulders seem a bit more in, like the chest seems different. So I don't know. That's what I was thinking. But I think it's still pretty cool that they have something coming for Japan, because if anybody is aware of anything that's happening in Asia, they have more robots than anybody. And so this would just be like next level.
And I think that Japan is a hub for for robot technology, and it would make sense. Maybe they have a product coming, but I don't think it's time just yet. What they may be doing is another recruiting event specific to the Japanese market where they could tap into a whole lot of talent that they might not otherwise be able to find.
Yeah, one thing I will say, kind of in response to Joe's thing, I do remember, if you remember at the takeover when we were doing the interview, he used those analogies of an R2D2. And so I don't know if that was specific for Japan, but obviously similar to what Brian was saying, like Japan is kind of seen as a tech hub and, a good place for robots as well. But yeah, it was interesting. It's not like they posted that on like the Tesla account. It was like Tesla Japan. So
right. And Tesla Japan doesn't need a 6-foot robot. Optimus is like 6 foot, and it just doesn't fit for anything they have going over there.
You're gonna have mini me.
Yeah.
All right. So this shout out to Sawyer. This was taken from his feed. It looks like VW is reverting back to the old dealership model. Volkswagen, like I said, I guess you could say Nissan is, looking close to bankruptcy. VW is knocking at that door too. But it looks like Volkswagen has announced that it may get rid of its direct consumer sales model that Tesla inspired due to a challenging environment. The company would do this to save money. So again, I think it's Dumb and Dumber getting dumber again. It's just they're not realizing and seeing the writing on the wall that people do not like the dealership experience. It's a horrible experience. So I can't speak to what it's like specifically in Europe, but in the US, it's an absolute horrible, time-wasting, gut-wrenching experience that can be removed. It's like, do you want to go Amazon Prime or do you want to get on a wagon and drive the thing down? You know what I mean? So, and look at who we have. Hans, what's going on? Welcome.
Hey.
Hey, good morning.
Happy late Thanksgiving.
You were still sleeping because of all of the overeating from Thanksgiving, right?
Oh, I wish that would have been nice.
No, I remember you said you had some shopping or early to-dos and you didn't know if they were going to conflict or not.
Yeah, we were talking about going to the Christmas tree farm and getting a real Christmas tree today because they open up the day after Thanksgiving. But we decided not to do that, so I was available and I just totally faced.
All good. It happens. Well, we're just gonna jump. Joe, I'll throw this one to you.
Yep. Can we just all agree not to pay Hans this week? I think it's fair.
Yeah, we're all making the big bucks off this podcast. You know how it is.
UK reconsiders EV sales targets. So, man, shout out to Sawyer. Like, I don't even know what we would even have as a podcast if he didn't post regularly.
Don't give our source X. No, I'm sure.
He just gets so much information. But in January 2024, the UK government published its pathway for zero-emission vehicle transition by 2035. The ZEV mandate aims to make 80% of new cars and 70% of new vans sold in Great Britain to be zero-emission vehicles by 2030. They are moving fast, and I think China plays into this, right? We can see what's happening in China. We can see what's happening in Norway and some of these countries. Like it doesn't ruin the grid. None of these grids are falling apart, and they're all doing fine. And they have way more EVs than us on the roads and charging and everything. So I think the writing's on the wall for a lot of companies, and I think for a lot of continents. And it just makes sense.
I did want to say on the VW thing real quick, it's what they're doing is the laziest thing possible. Creating your own direct to consumer channel is difficult. It's a lot of work. You have to get your own locations. You have to get enough of them. And because you're Volkswagen, you would need them kind of everywhere. You can't slow roll it out like a startup company can, where you start in certain markets and then expand. So they're taking the easy route. The dealers are willing to buy the units. We can stuff the channels when we need to. And in exchange, all they ask is to be terrible and do bad things to customers and rip them off at every turn. And I think as Volkswagen, we're okay with that.
Man, dropping the mic today.
Bam!
Well, you're gonna put Volkswagen out of business, man. You're gonna be known for putting them like
Like MKBHD.
oh my gosh, that would be hilarious. No, I'll save that, but it would be kind of funny. Okay, so moving on. So I would say, there's never. I mean, you could say this every quarter. We know that, but this is. I think there's been multiple people that have come out and said this. The referral program right now is very attractive. If you were looking to get into a Model 3, Model Y, SX, Cybertruck, you should consider it. Now is the time. So they made a huge change to the referral program. You can now earn $1,000 by giving someone else up to $2,000 off of their Tesla. And I believe this maxes out at 10, something like that. So you can earn up to $10,000 off of your car. So I think, like I said, and there's also too, I think I'd have to look exactly where the slide is, but there's also, they announced the lease buyout, but where you can now outright buy your Tesla after the lease. So there's just like Tesla's just, they're pulling a lot of levers right now. This is the last time for potentially the EV tax credit, as well as, Trump has been very specific about what may happen next year. So if you're looking to get into a car, this could be the quarter for you. But yeah, what did you guys think about this?
Well, I think it's okay. I think it's two things, right? I think it's demand levers, and I think they're capitalizing on the end of year, numbers. I don't really think it has too much to do with the Trump thing too much, because as we were saying earlier, but when you weren't here, Hans, but I mean, it's going to take an act of Congress to make some of these changes happen. So it's not like he can say it and it's going to happen. So it's going to be interesting to see how the numbers fall out for the end of year numbers. It's going to be pretty cool to see.
And I think that, I think they're trying to get over last year's number. We've got just a short amount of time left. Shanghai is cranking like crazy. Just need a few more sales in North America to make it happen. And I think they're going to get that record. Those credits are very generous. The referral credits are very generous. If you've got some that you'd already saved up and you can get another 10,000, maybe it's time to get a Powerwall for almost free, free plus installation. But then, there's a lot of ways you can make that work. The one thing with the lease, you can now buy out your lease on new transactions. Oh, that means that the robotaxi isn't coming. Does it? Or does it mean that when the robotaxi comes, they'll be able to manufacture their own cars so quickly on the Cybercab design that getting back old 3-in-Ys don't matter the way they did prior to the introduction of that model? And I think that's what it is.
Well, I think, the biggest takeaway here is that if you're buying a car this month, which is a very attractive thing, then you should use Brian's referral code. It's right there in his X profile at the very top. So just go on over there, look up FutureAza, click on the link, use the code, do the things.
You know what to do.
I couldn't agree more. Well said.
So batteries are lasting longer than you think. And I think there was even a previous study, and guys, fact check me. I believe, wasn't there like a previous study that was published, again, outside of this one, that actually said that the batteries may last longer than the physical car itself at some point. But specifically this, the EV batteries are generally lasting longer than many people expected, while the overall rate of replacement in the recurrent community is only 2.5%. The highest rate of battery replacements comes from the very first generation of EVs on the road. These cars are now 14 years old, and many of them still have the original packs. So I think, at least when I saw this, I think, and I think we've all talked a little bit about this, right? The great thing is that at least, Tesla, they're making an amazing product. And I think that ultimately the amazing product will continue to win out, whether you have these tax incentives or whether you give people the option to choose to buy a gas car versus electric. As people continue to get more educated, and more importantly, as gas prices go up, or if they stay stagnant for a while and go up, the cost of maintenance ultimately will get you to think a little bit, because as I can see, it's still a thing to go buy a Tesla. I see so many of these, up and coming influencers, or just, people making these TikToks about getting it. And so hopefully, if you're considering potentially buying a Tesla, if you don't already own one, these cars are really, cheaper over a 5-year lifetime for a Model 3 versus a Toyota Corolla. They're well made. I've had 5 now in a matter of 6 years. Have a little bit of a Tesla problem, but either way, it's just, these are really good cars, and you should consider testing them out. And I think things like, battery or range anxiety, all of these things that have had a bunch of misinformation and fake news all of these years, I think, again, as electric cars are on the road longer, there will be a lot more broad awareness about this stuff. All right, Joe, to you.
So when I was over in France, I noticed that there were some cars that looked a little different than no, I'm just kidding. So this was posted online from somebody who lives in France. They have several freaking new Model 3s, actually, the Highland Model 3s, part of the police force. And this has been part of an ongoing thing for France over the past few years. They've been upgrading their fleet to be entirely electric. It's not just Teslas that they have, but they've also, a lot of the French electric vehicles, they've converted those into the fleet as well. It just so happens that, as we know, you get a lot more range and speed out of the Tesla. So of course they needed to add these as well. It's pretty awesome.
No notes.
So John's muted, but what he's trying to say is, holy cow, you guys, this is incredible.
All right, go for it, man. He stole my thunder.
Big Tesla Texas energy. So according to a recent job listing, Tesla is hiring a software engineer to help develop a teleoperation system that will allow human operators to remotely access and control the company's upcoming robotaxis and humanoid robots. The software engineer for the Palo Alto-based role he have to have drive requirements and make the decisions and implement software integration for a custom teleoperation. I think we have a slide later that we're showing the Cybercab rolling around Giga Texas, and right now they're driving another vehicle with a remote, a fancy, video game controller that's tied to the vehicle, and that's how they're operating it. But can you imagine if they can just be sitting at a computer somewhere with the cameras and not having to wear any, what I mean? Like, I just think it's going to be one of those things that you need for, I mean, we see it with Waymo. You need somebody a network of people that are monitoring just in case things, and you never know what could possibly happen and move out of the way type stuff, or if the car gets a flat or something like that, you never know.
So I saw people saying, well, this means that Tesla can't solve it and it can't scale, because if they have to pay teleoperators the, 6,000, 8,000, 12,000 that people paid for FSD, would chew through that teleoperation budget much too quickly. And that would be true. But if you look at the listing, you'll see something different. It says we want teleoperators for Cybercab and Optimus. Clearly, Optimus is not going to be remotely operated. This is an emergency backup. And for the vehicles, I imagine what it could be is a regulatory requirement that somewhere there is a human that can be pinged in case of a very bizarre situation, even if just to talk the passenger down. So it doesn't mean that they're going to go quite as aggressively the route that Cruise and Waymo do, where they're supervising rides almost in person in many cases. Well, and we've seen that where you'll see a demo where a big name influencer gets when they were getting to do rides before it was open to the public, when it was just a very limited beta, and they would say, oh, look, oh, here it is. I'm on this very tiny street and it just pulled up. Yeah, well, weird how that happens. And you know that we now know that they were supervising the entire ride beginning to end remotely. It's not like that. This is more about training and emergency situations is my take.
So, as we know, the Cybercab has been going around Giga Texas. It's literally just been, I think it's been a couple weeks now. And shout out to Joe, who covers from a drone standpoint. He covers all things Giga Texas. And so he has spotted the Cybercab just running around. And for those that are not necessarily familiar with Giga Texas is huge. And so, they're building this huge compound around it where you could pretty much stay on the thing the whole time. I mean, like, even Fremont factory is not big enough for that because they have the track in the back, but there's no way that you can essentially operate completely on private roads. Giga Texas, it's big enough, like, where you can have pretty much private roads all the way around it. So, really exciting to see. Again, it's interesting that they're testing it there. I have not seen anything in Palo Alto or Los Angeles. Again, this is private road, so it probably makes more sense if they're starting to test it there. But just really interesting that we're starting to see this. But like I said, in the next couple months, who knows, maybe 6 months, seeing these in Palo Alto, I know there was some rumor or there were some conversations happening there. But next year and really the next 2 to 3 years is going to be the year of the Cybercab. I'm personally really excited. And I think Tesla is doing such an amazing job hyping these up like they did with the Cybertruck, and taking these things all over the world. It's all over the United States right now. I think there's even some cool event happening in Miami next week or something. So there's a lot of really cool things. Even our club is going to get a cool event happening next week. More to come. If you're signed up on our email thread, go to teslasiliconvalley.com. If you live in the Bay Area, you can potentially come to it. So it's just, I'm excited. It's cool to see that they're testing this, and hopefully we can actually get this out on an actual public city road.
So I'm going to design a test course for my new Cybercab. What elements do I want? Well, I want it to be closed from the public. Check. I want roads that are high speed. I want roads that are low speed. I want dirt roads. I want crowded pedestrians who are my employees that understand what's going on. I don't want dogs or children to be around it, early on. I want a boring tunnel. I want it to be able to test in you've got everything you need, and it's on land that you control exclusively. And for that matter, when it's time to start doing rides, do rides for the employees from the parking lot to where they're going. It checks all the boxes for testing.
Yeah, I think that's a good note, Brian. Also, we got to remember that Elon had stated that they have the app, it's working. They're using this with people in the driver's seats for the Model Y and stuff like that. You're bringing employees to work out here in California, so it's not that Cybercab specific, but they are already doing this on regular roads with a driver ready to take over should anything happen.
And the only thing I would add is, man, look at those pictures. Isn't that just a masterpiece design by Franz? Like, that car is so beautiful. I can't wait to see more of these out and about. And when they, whether they're taking them to showrooms to attract people, or as these get to be more and more prevalent on the roads, like, it's such an iconic design. And like, huge kudos to the Tesla design team. They did an amazing job.
Yeah, it looks
It
really
looks
nice.
it's fantastic. It's so simple and it's elegant and it still looks good. That is quality work by
Man,
Verizon.
if only it had so many LiDAR sensors, it'd just be so much cooler.
They're so subtle. I can't
No.
spot them on a Waymo.
You have to. One thing was that made it even more iconic was the gold, right? This is not
Yeah.
something, you would think that, Tesla had used silver and really a lot of the other, trendy colors, but gold has been something that I don't think they've really tapped into. So seeing the gold with the Cybercab really just gives it, I mean, it looks like it's almost like the same color as the road in some of these shots. You know what I mean? So, but just with the hubcaps and all that other stuff that they have going on, it definitely looks like the future. All right, Joe, to you.
Speaking of LiDAR,
So subtle, I can't find them.
Yeah, no, it's really hard to notice.
Oh.
You have to look closely. So, Robotaxi future with nationwide regulation. So, this is pretty cool. I mean, we all know that Elon has the ear of the president-elect right now. So, Trump could push to eliminate restrictions to fast-track robotaxis and self-driving vehicles. And I think that's not just good for Elon's companies, but it's good for the community and for consumers overall. Anybody who's taken Uber and stuff like that, you realize that there is a path for this. I mean, there's a path for vehicles that are needed that people aren't in, that people just need to take rides and go places and for cheap. And so this is pretty awesome to see. The funny thing about this is also, on a side note, the biggest company just making all the latest LiDARs was they did some presentation where they're making smaller LiDARs and they were like, oh, the future is bright. It's like, because they're making all the LiDARs and they know these companies don't have what Tesla has, so they're probably going to need a lot of LiDARs. So it's just funny.
What's this here? So it sounds like, there's been a couple of Model Ys or vehicles that have been covered. We don't know exactly what they are over at Fremont. Shout out to my friend over at Fred. He's my favorite. He's reported on this. And so, but yeah, either way, it looks like that, Tesla has some activity. We don't know if this is Project Juniper. We will see. Obviously, we got to be careful talking about it because if you want a Model Y, go get one. But you never know what you will see, when you're flying a drone over. So again, we don't really know what this is. We know it's been covered up. I think it's been something that people have been seeing over the past couple of weeks. So interesting times there. But all I can say is, if once they release that new Model Y, again, if it looks anything kind of like the Model 3, people are going to go crazy. And especially the way the build and the quality that the new Model 3 is, it's going to be an absolute game changer, and it's going to unlock a lot of things. So
yeah,
I'm personally really excited about that. Any thoughts?
Oh, go ahead. Well, I'll say if you haven't seen the video, you should probably check it out, because what you'll notice in the video is that these are not all shaped the same. So it's very interesting to find out what's going to happen. And these have been there for a while. So it's very, very curious indeed.
My guess is that it's other vehicles that they're either benchmarking, or maybe they're shooting a promotional video comparing or something like that. I don't think Tesla has that many new vehicles, but I would be delighted to be wrong.
The company that has 20 Cybercabs?
20 matching Cybercabs? Yes, I don't think they have 8 new vehicles.
I'm on mute again. Shanghai doing Shanghai speed. Nothing to see here. Tesla's new Shanghai Megafactory, which will double the company's Megapack production capacity, is on track to complete construction in the next few weeks. The swamp has now risen, I guess you could say. But man, is China just continuing to knock it out of the park. That team there is just killing it. However, they're getting all of this stuff done in Shanghai speed is absolutely crazy. So this is, in my opinion, the mega pack is really the demand for that is potentially unlimited in some ways, depending on how many you can make. And obviously we know right now Lathrop is at capacity or hitting capacity, and so or they might be able to grow. Either way, this is going to be able to double it. So that's going to be crazy, and we know they're going to ramp them fast too. They're already doing it it's not like this is something necessarily brand new. They're going to do it even better than what they are probably doing right now in Lathrop. But this is going to double their production capacity.
Well, you're also looking at a situation where each continent needs its own mega pack factory. Like they can't ship these with that weight and everything. They're not going to be shipping these like all over the globe from California. So it just makes sense.
I mean, you can. It's just very expensive. And at some point, the shipping cost becomes prohibitive. And it's not just the shipping cost, it's the shipping time. If it takes a month or two and you're talking billions of dollars of inventory, there is a flooring cost to having that much inventory that's not on which you cannot get any tranches of your revenue.
All right. So Joe's favorite part of the show.
Are you gonna play the video?
Which video?
This is a video,
dude.
I think when you download it, I don't think it.
Yeah. If you want to send it to me, we can play it at the end. You can send it to me right now. But so this is just a bunch of topics, and we're gonna get the panel's opinion on various topics.
That's a lot of knuckles. Is that our superpower?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to throw this first one to Hans. Tesla releases Tesla bot, technically.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty crazy. Like the store crashed and everybody wants one of these figurines. These are pretty cool little action figures. I think a lot of Uber nerds are excited about this. It reminds me of the Christmas movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
With the Turbo Man dolls. What was that movie?
Jingle All the Way?
Jingle All the Way, yep. And so this is this year's version of Jingle All the Way for Tesla nerds. You got to hurry up and get one quick. In fact, if you haven't already gotten one, you're probably not going to. So pretty cool little thing. And then that on top of what we saw already with the 22 degree of freedom hand on the new Optimus for Black Friday. Just once again, exciting things happening for Optimus, and better collect them all fast.
Yeah, that makes this a legacy Optimus already with the new hand on the new bot. But yeah, no, it's pretty for those of you who aren't on X, the amount of photos and things that people are taking of Optimus doing all these various things are freaking hilarious. Shout out to Tesla AI girl who has some of the most hilarious content on that. Freaking so funny.
Well, and it even did make an appearance in that Black Friday video. Like there was the Optimus catching the balls, but then if you look up behind him on the left-hand side, there was the little Optimus figurine stuck to the wall. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
All right, Brian, anti-Tesla environmental protesters litter.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you're forcibly evicted, you're going to not have time to clean up your mess. Look, these guys weren't really environmentalists. We knew that from the get-go. These were just people being a pain in the butt for the pain in the butt's sake. And hey, if that's what you're into, I'm not going to shame you. But unless that's your kink, in which case you're a naughty boy. No, of course they're going to leave a mess. They're terrible people doing terrible things. But I think a lot of the mess came from the speed at which they were removed.
All right, Joe, Optimus and the path to $20,000.
Yeah, so this all came on somebody Peter was posting that, Optimus is going to be 20 grand and everybody's going to be able to get one. And Elon, very quickly to correct him. Optimus is a very sophisticated robot. It will be immensely difficult to get the cost of 20K. Not easy at all, but it will eventually happen. The production volume needs to be above 1 million a year for that. Price will be driven by demand, but eventually even price will get to 20K.
You can't sell a Model 3 for 35,000. Well, adjusted for inflation, it's way less than that.
Yeah.
And it's a better car than we were promised for 35. And even sometimes in the store, you can find inventory deals that are awfully close, if not all the way there. I believe that this will happen. I believe that they will get the price down because you build it so it can do everything, and then you start removing the parts you realize you don't need, and the chips will get cheaper, the controllers, it'll all get cheaper. It'll happen, but I agree that it will take tremendous volume to make it happen.
Yeah, I don't think that they're going to have a problem hitting 1 million at that rate at all. Everybody's going to want one. This is the same company that was able to sell $100,000 truck that was initially, going to be $50,000 for 100 grand, and they sold like over 60,000 of them. So, I don't see that being a problem. The one thing I am excited about is all the companies and everything. Most of us have probably seen a BMW video where they got like these two robots working in the factory with the it's just the future is really abundant, like Elon states all the time, and you don't really understand and get a grasp of it until you start to realize, like, what the heck are we going to be doing, like, once robots are doing everything. Like, it's really, really, really nutty.
Hans, Rivian plays nice. Looks like the CEO said that the Model Y is the best EV under 50,000.
Well, it's good that he can be honest about that. And good luck to Rivian, to RJ. I know that they are working hard on trying to get their cheaper vehicles out the door. Man, they've got a lot of work to do. And he's in a position to understand just how hard it is to sell an EV that's a good EV, much less sell it under that $50,000 price point. So yeah, I really do wish them the best, and I hope that they can do that, because they have a lot of work ahead of them, and at least he has an example of how to do that. But they've got to vertically integrate that supply chain a lot better. They've got to increase those volumes while maintaining high levels of quality, and it's going to be tough.
Yeah, I seen a 2021 Model Y on Tesla inventory for $27,000 the other day when I was going through the Tesla inventory. So, there's so much opportunity out there, but yeah, it's going to take them getting the cost down. And I know that he's looking at the next generation of vehicles to be able to compete on that level. But yeah, they really got to work on that supply chain.
And I think it's no coincidence that RJ wears glasses that look like they belong to Clark Kent.
Hopefully that helps him. All right. So somewhat off topic, but on topic within the Musk Industries. Brian, this is going to go to you. Starlink set to dominate.
Well, they're the only company that's actually able to do this right now. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Direct to cell. I had a chance to talk with a former T-Mobile engineer, and I asked him, what is the range? Why can a phone actually reach to that far? And he said that the real saving grace is that the atmosphere gets very thin very quickly, and the signal can actually reach. It can bleed that far. What impresses me most is the speed at which they're able to send messages. I was just sure that the bandwidth would be much lower. And this means that for emergencies, there will no longer be dead zones. There's no part of a national park where if you can see the sky, you can't get rescue to find your location. So this is massive and opens up an outrageous world of revenue. And no one is going to be able to compete because we've seen SpaceX launch 6,000 plus satellites on their own rockets at a price never before achieved, and they are just now about to make a profit. If anyone else wants to do this, they're going to have to pay 5 times more before they can even start thinking about getting to revenue neutral, and they probably have to charge 5 times more. So it's exciting for SpaceX, but it's exciting for anyone who gets to an area where there is no coverage because your life is no longer in your hands.
And I just want to double click on how like technically impossible this is to like cell phones talking directly to satellites. You know, there's a reason that it takes an Elon Musk company to do this. This is freaking ridiculously hard. And, you know, Starlink is already an incredible product. And their ability to provide satellite internet at low latency, but to be able to offer direct to cell phone communications where you don't even have that satellite receiver. Like, it's just insane that this is something that is even possible inside the realm of physics. You know, it's like right at the edge of what's possible according to physics. And the fact that they made it into a real product that really works is just insane.
Yeah, for me, talking to Jared specifically, just seeing how he talked a little bit about Polaris Dawn and how, and we did an interview with him in October, and he was just talking about how the access to communication with these satellites, you know, you sending these like essentially these beams all the way to have this direct communication with obviously SpaceX back home, and just the ability to do that and the chances to have reliable connectivity all the way out in space. And again, I think Tesla is going to be pulling another, if they can get direct from satellite to cell phone, they're going to reshape the game, especially depending on their pricing and access and speed. Because you're getting rid of, depending on what service provider you had. I personally have T-Mobile, and they've kind of done this whole uncarrier thing. They've been good overall, but at the end of the day, if you can get rid of some of these insane contracts and some of these other experiences where you're just dealing with, again, you just buy a phone, or you buy your own phone and then you just sign up for kind of like a Starlink mini monthly subscription, depending on what it is. If the actual plans are attractive, hopefully it's not going to be like a Google, whatever the Google phones were, because those ones are, in my opinion, are just not a great offer, and you pay per gigabyte. It might work for some, but people who need access to like unlimited, this is something that could really change the game. Or again, if you're in a remote area, again, it's going to be perfect for you. But it's crazy to see that, how potentially SpaceX is going to revamp potentially the whole carrier business. I mean, you're seeing it happening with internet providers, right? I was on a United flight. They did not have internet both ways to Hawaii. And I was like, I still got access to their videos and stuff, but it's like, it's 2024 and how are they not on Starlink, right? So this is a big win for them. All right, so we are past the top of the hour. Hopefully you all are doing some amazing Black Friday shopping from your couches, or if you are brave enough to go out and do it, safe travels. One quick announcement. We just announced the X Takeover. We just launched the tickets. I'm going to make a video next week and kind of going into some further details about the new location, the new spot, the access that we're going to get. Again, a lot of the stuff is still up in the air, but we have secured a location in the Alameda in the Bay Area. This is going to give a lot more access to vendors and attendees that come and travel from all over the world to just fly into San Francisco and take a quick 35 minute drive to Alameda and get access. And then, who knows, we may team up in various ways with Tesla as well. So this is just going to unlock a lot of things. And it's just crazy how sometimes, so many things happen for a reason. But this truly will unlock a lot of things. We also tentatively have penciled in Lars Morovi to come and be a keynote speaker. He is the next guy in line that we have not had. We've had Elon and Franz as far as Tesla specifically goes. So having him there is going to be insane. And he actually is a local, so he lives close by to that area. So looking forward to that. Stay tuned for more information. There will be a lot more information in the upcoming months, especially in 2025, probably March, April. Hopefully a lot of more stuff will be ironed out. But yeah, this is going to be, I think, a really cool experience. So go to xtakeover.com. We're going to have more information. The tickets are around 20 right now without the fees. It'll go up to 25. So we've also done our best to reduce the cost to attend, which will also mean, we'll probably pull back on some of the other production costs. But the point is to get as many attendees as possible and making it as easily accessible as possible by coming to San Francisco. So we hope to see you there. And also it's affordable too, in that, you're not going to have to pay $200 to $300 a night. You can find a Hilton or something else that's 25 minutes away for around, $150. So hopefully you can come July 26, 2025. I know Joe and myself and Kelvin specifically and Steven, we will all be busy preparing to make this an amazing event, but glad we could announce it this weekend. Last note is please thank Joe by not following him. SJV Tesla for making the deck this week. Thanks for always staying on top of that. So give him a follow, and he's tagged on X along with, his handle is on YouTube as well, or Facebook if you're watching there. And then also as well, just please follow FutureAza, who is a huge advocate for our events and the stuff we're doing and resource of information. So FutureAza as well. He even's ready for next year. He's gonna have to get a new patch. And then he's collecting all of them. He's got 3 right now. And then we have Hans as well. Hans C. Nilsson on X. Make sure you give him a follow. He's got his own YouTube channel, and he is a wealth of information as well, and a regular on Farzad's channel as well. So give them all a follow. Thank you again for tuning in this week. I think we had a little over 8,000 people tune in on X while we were live streaming. So I don't know if more people are home, but good stuff, guys. Have a great week, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, guys.